Okay, so this is a cool one. This is a very cool one. Okay, so when I was growing up, we used to have uh, we moved from the city out to the country, right? And it was hard to get indoor plumbing out in the country. It took time. You had to hire somebody. You had to hire a plumber and find somebody that knew what they were doing. And so for a while, we lived like the old people that lived in the place before. They lived a very simple life. Okay, so for a while, we had to actually use a really traditional kind of pump until we could get the plumber and carpenter and like redo the house in a more modern way. Okay, so we outside we had this. It kind of like we used it as a cabin for a while. A cabin we would refer to as like a sort of barbecue place. We lived in the city. We'd go up there and barbecue and you know drink. Old the adults would drink and the kids would play outside, and stuff like that. So then we moved up there. So, um, but I want to show you this pump that we had. Um, okay, we literally, actually, had a pump just like this, and it was over a well, just like this. It was this color though, and it was over like a well that had a lot of water in it, right? And we would. It was not naturally fed though. It was we had to pay to have somebody fill it up, right? But anyway, so what would happen is if you would go out to that pump uh, and you start to try to pump it, it would just pump air. Nothing would come out. So what we had to do is we had to take a gallon jug and we had to pour water down the center of the pump, and then that chamber would fill up with water and it would become uh, airtight, and it would start to create a suction, and it would come up and we could pump a lot of water out. So originally when I saw my brother doing this, I thought, okay, well you're just pouring water in, and that's the same water, so nothing is being accomplished. But uh, what I realized was he would pour in a little bit, and it would just keep pumping forever. And he'd go, no, no, just keep pumping, and it would just keep coming out, right? So it was a lot more than we poured in. So I realized this was a way of a necessary step in order to uh, make the pump work, right? Because the water going down in there made it airtight, and it would and be watertight, and it would start pumping water. Okay, let me show you a demonstration of this. See, nothing's happening. So what this step is called priming the pump. Priming the pump. Okay, come on, let's go. So now it's pulling it. So he poured in perfectly clean water, and it's coming up this old stuff just for a while because it hasn't been used for a while, and it will come out clean later, right? Once it starts to get some of this sediment out of the pump. So this is called priming the pump. Okay, so um, you had to do that, right? And so everybody was familiar with this concept, okay? Back during Franklin Delano Roosevelt presidency. So this concept of priming the pump is it's an economic term, okay? And so let me get this back. Okay, so you pour in water and it creates the suction and it gets it going. Okay, so there's this idea of priming the pump with regard to economics. So the idea is that the government would inject money into the economy. First of all, I want to explain the multiplier effect. So if I give this guy $1, then he's going to go get a haircut, and then the guy that gives him the haircut, now he's got that $1, and he's going to go buy some food, right? Let's say, and then the seller of that food now has that $1, and that the seller of the food goes and buys some kind of gasoline or something for his farm truck or something, and then that guy has the $1, and the $1 keeps circulating. Okay, and this is called a multiplier effect. Okay, so if you inject, so the thing is, it's like you inject money into the economy, then it will keep circulating, right? That's the idea. Okay, so let's take a look at this multiplier effect. Okay, the central bank injects, they use this term inject, right? Injects money into the economy, and then the economy grows, and then it creates this kind of circular thing, right? So maybe that's not the best. Okay, so demand, here we go. Dollars enter the local economy, okay? In the form of, let's say they build a library, right? The federal government decides to build a library, or they build a road. Okay, so they build a road, and the employees that they hire to build the road now have that money, and they go spend it on stuff that they need. And also the quarry, which is a place to buy like concrete and rocks and stuff, they get money, and then they increase spending, and then there's more money spent, and it just keeps going back and forth. So that's the idea of the government doing these projects. So it used to be, that the government would try to avoid spending more than they had. But during the Depression, things were bad, and so the government had to borrow money to put into the economy, and people were like, well, what are you doing? You're going to make us more broke. But the economy had slowed down, so if you inject money into the economy by building roads, you build roads even if it's with debt, that's going to prime the pump and get the pump going, and then it's going to stimulate growth, and people are going to have money, they're going to make investments, they're going to hire people, and this is the idea of priming the pump, okay, with regard to economics. So we have this concept in our mind that priming the pump is something that you do to get something started, and it requires some kind of expense. Okay, so let's say your daughter, she finished high school, and you want her to go to college. Let's say, just create this scenario. You want her to go to college, but she's tired of school, right? And so what you do is, in order to prime the pump, you say, okay, well, why don't you just go for one class, and I'll pay for it. And so you, because maybe she's also kind of intimidated by college, right? And so you say, why don't you go down there and just take one class, and I'll pay for it. And then she gets there, and she doesn't have such a rough time. She starts to learn where some of the buildings are, and she feels comfortable there. Maybe she makes some friends, and you kind of prime the pump, and then after that she paid for everything herself. Okay, that's just one scenario. priming the pump. Oh, okay. I have another good one. I'm going to have to pause this because I need to show you. Show you. Okay, just a minute. Okay, so I got a good example of priming the pump that's was really done. Okay. My university that I went to, they had a chancellor. It was kind of like the president of the university, and he would prime the pump on these building projects. And let me explain to you what he would do. He would go, and he knew he could not get approved for the whole thing. The government wouldn't want to spend that much money. So what he would do is he would ask for a certain amount of money, and they would get it approved, and then he would get started on this project, right? And like he would dig the foundation, and then he would run out of money, right? Let me show you this guy. Okay, this guy, he was a great visionary. He turned my university from a very small college into a great, gigantic university. Okay, so what he would do is he would go to the government and say, okay, well, he would say, we need some money to start this library, right? And so he would get it started, and they would like dig out the foundation, right? And he would go ask. I think this is the original one. Okay, it started off really small, and then they added these, and so it was a kind of a way of priming the pump, because what he would do is he would ask for a smaller amount of money, and then he knew it wasn't going to work. He knew it wasn't going to come anywhere near completing what was necessary. So they would like dig the foundation, and they would do some other things, and then he would take pictures of it, and he'd say, "Listen, we're sorry, we weren't able to complete it. We need more money." Okay, and so then he built the first couple of floors, which is what I just showed you, and then he's primed the pump now. He's already got the project started, right? So then he goes back and he says, well, listen, we need more money. We have to expand because this university's gotten so big now. And he did that a lot. You know, they would half build a stadium, and they'd say, okay, we need more money. And that's how he built this thing. Also, talking about priming the pump was that government spending primed the pump for the whole local economy, because contractors were hired, money was spent, and you know, it was necessary to build stores there and stuff, and it developed the whole economy by priming the pump. Okay. Okay, so here's another example. There's a song made by this song is made it's called Prime the Pump. Can you see this? No, you can't. Okay. This song is called Prime the Pump. And I don't know if I'm going to get a copyright complaint for this or not. Okay, I'm not going to play the whole thing, but it tells a story about this man and woman. They were in love, but something kind of died, right? She fell out of love with him because he basically took her for granted, right? And so he wanted to get back together with her, but she wasn't having it, right? So what the guy's father said is, son, you're going to have to prime the pump, which means to show her some love. Maybe take her, like buy her some flowers, or make something for her, or do something nice for her, show her some love, and then that primes the pump, and she'll love him back, and then he loves her back, and so the pump basically lost the prime somehow, right? Because he stopped showing her love, and then she just kind of lost it for him because he wasn't showing her love. He just thought she would give him love, you know, automatically, right? And so the father told his son, "Son, you got to prime the pump." So let me show you this song. If you want to listen to this song, I'm not such a big country music fan, but this song could be interesting for you. Okay, I like it because it tells a story and it's pretty cool, and he speaks English pretty slowly, so it might work for you. Okay, I forgot, I want to put this in here, show you this. Okay, this is some other examples of prime the pump being used. So we're going to pay for this study as a sort of prime the pump. So I think it's Google is paying for some research to get the research going, right? So once they get the research going, they've got some other data they can go off of.
We're going to pay for this study as a sort of prime the pump with the VA. But what we
Okay, so they hope that the VA is going to pay for the rest of it, right? Okay, Keynesian economics is the thing that I was telling you about. Keynesian demand management problem in which the government can prime the pump, right? So Keynesian economics is what they did back in the 1930s with Roosevelt.
Should prime the pump when necessary.
So she's saying the government should prime the pump to get the economy going. Okay.
Rely on things like discussion, but I also prime the pump a lot with...
Okay, and listen, I forgot to mention that I do that a lot in my classes to get my students talking. If I just start saying, okay, just talk about the weather, they're not going to be able to do it, right? So I give them questions and I let them write down the answers, but they just take little memos, right? They just take a little memo, and then when they start talking, then kind of like the ball is bouncing, the pump is primed, right? They start talking, and then they start feeding off of each other's discussion, right? So I'm kind of priming the pump, right? So anyway, I'll talk to you later.